Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante. Well, we've been following for now a year what has happened in Ukraine. And one of the things that is happening in Ukraine is there's a lot of propaganda in America and the West. Russia's putting out its own propaganda for sure. The first thing to die in a war is the truth. But I'm going to be critical of America because this is a proxy war, right? And we've sent $120 billion, if not more now, over to the Ukraine, even though we have our own citizens starving. We have tent cities in every major American metropolitan area. We have, the single greatest upward transference of wealth since the pandemic, since the Republicans and Democrats, Trump and Biden, have given trillions of dollars to Wall Street, while Americans are barely getting by. We have a housing crisis. We have people can't afford rents in every major American city. The rents have gone up, probably everywhere in America, but we still have we have inflation, and we are in the middle of a recession, despite what the government says. And I've said this a million times. I feel like I have to say it 2 million times because some people just refuse to hear it. But I don't like Russia invading Ukraine. And two things can exist at once. We've been pushing this war in the States because it's good for business, right? The military-industrial complex needs proxy wars all over the place. This is, make no mistake, this is a proxy war. So things we talked about a lot on the show is how the big banks, the central banks, they fund these wars. And so this speech that Zelensky just is they're just out in the open with it. They're just out in the open. Remember now, Zelensky in January of 2022 was like, hey, the West is causing problems in Ukraine. The West should leave out of this. Zelensky was like, let's go to the negotiation table. This is when Russia had not invaded yet, but they were stacking up troops on the border. And Putin said, yeah, I'll negotiate. We're willing to talk. And then Boris Johnson came to Ukraine, and I don't know what was said, but all of a sudden after that meeting, Zelensky was now like, we're going to have NATO bases, which is the line in the sand that Putin drew. He's like, I don't want NATO bases on my border. I don't want missiles that can hit Moscow in a matter of minutes. And then Zelensky, prior to the meeting with Boris Johnson, said, not going to have NATO bases here. We just, we'll discuss this. And then Boris Johnson comes in, and then Zelensky goes, nope, we're going to be NATO bases in Ukraine. And then Russia, within 48 hours, invaded. So, I want to show you this that just came up. This was on Ben Norton's, who we've had on the show, on Ben Norton's Twitter. But he replayed. This is Ben Norton. In a speech to U.S. corporate lobby group, Ukraine Zelensky thanked BlackRock, J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Elon Musk, Starlink. Everyone can become a big business by buying up Ukrainian assets. We are defending freedom and property. This is insane. So here it is.
We are defending freedom and property, thanks to the leadership of the United States of America, which has consolidated the world in defense of freedom. We see how to win this battle. Together, we'll be able to start the difficult war of rebuilding Ukraine, our cities, our economy, our infrastructure. It is already clear that this will be the largest economic project of our time in Europe. It's obvious that American business can become the locomotive that will once again push forward global economic growth. We have already managed to attract attention and have cooperation with such giants of the international financial and investment world as BlackRock, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs. Such Americans as Starlink or Westinghouse have already become part of our Ukrainian way. Your brilliant defense systems, such as HIMARS or Bradleys, are already uniting our history of freedom with your enterprises. We are waiting for Patriots. We are looking closely at Abrams. Thousands of such examples are possible. And everyone can become a big business by working with Ukraine in all sectors, from weapons and defense to construction, from communication, agriculture, from transport to IT, from banks to medicine. And I believe that freedom must always win. And I invite you to work with us right now.
I mean, that is pretty crazy that he just thanks banks and defense contractors. I mean, he just basically spelled out, this is why war is good. This is why the US has been trying to push this war since, we first got involved in 2014. I showed you a video, the BBC in 2015, showing the neo-Nazi groups that work in the Ukraine. So we're helping fund neo-Nazis. Now, there's a lot to be critical of Russia for. I don't like this invasion. One of the things that Russia says this war is it's the denazification of Ukraine. So that America was against Nazis, but we're funding them. I've shown you videos and photos on this show. I've been doing this show for 6 years now, going back 3, 4, 5 years, showing all of the American, like John McCain, Joe Biden, when he was vice president, meeting with people in the Azov Brigade. They're a neo-Nazi organization. They're not like kind of right-wing leaning. I mean, they have Nazi tattoos on them. You've seen this time and time again, and yet the American media won't talk about this at all. And this is just funding, this is just, where is that? Right there. Funding. This is what war is. It's JP Morgan, it's Goldman Sachs, it's Starlink, it's Elon Musk, these companies. It's pretty, I mean, it's just so out in the open, and everybody just kind of is okay with it. And this is Ben Norton again. Under NATO's tutelage, Zelensky has imposed some of the world's most aggressive anti-worker policies. He took away Ukrainian workers' right to union protection and collective bargaining. In his speech, he compared governing Ukraine to run business. Reconstruction in Ukraine was outsourced to BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager. Zelensky held a conference with its billionaire CEO, Larry Fink, who is coordinating the efforts of all investors. Ukraine has basically been privatized as a country. Remember when Zelensky rang the opening bell at the stock exchange? He announced Ukraine was open for business with over $400 billion investment options for U.S. corporations, profitable public-private partnerships, and mass privatizations. Western governments and corporations met in July to plan harsh neoliberal economic policies to impose on Ukraine. They called to cut labor laws, open markets, drop tariffs, deregulate industries, and sell state-owned entrepreneurships to private investors. This is like, and no one in the mainstream media is like, isn't this a little weird? Oh, you can argue with Zelensky's just trying to protect his people. Okay, but who started this? This is more evidence. Even if Zelensky's just like, look, man, I got to do whatever I got to do to protect my people. I'm a puppet in this proxy war. Okay, that's fair. But then these companies are making profits. They profit from war. Like, we talk about this over and over and over on this show, right? In whatever it was, November, December, bipartisan support in Congress, bipartisan support in December, and in the Senate, Biden was given $858 billion for the war budget. Nope, not an argument, not even nobody, nothing, not a debate on the floor of the Senate, nothing, just given it automatically, just given it on top of the 120 or however many billion dollars has been sent to Ukraine, which comes from a separate budget, comes from like the State Department budget. I mean, I'm in Los Angeles and I'm driving around and I see tent cities everywhere. I see giant luxury apartment buildings either going on up for construction or halfway built or even finished. They're not 100% full. The hedge funds that own all of these real estate, these properties have been really keeping units unoccupied because they get tax breaks from it. And then the units that they do put on the market, they can jack up the rents. Rents are through the roof. We can't pay our bills, and yet we're sending all this money to a war that we helped create. This war could have been completely avoided. America could have said, if we were the peace nation rather than the war for profit nation, we would have come in and said, hey, let's work this out. But we've been stoking the fires on this since 1998, when America passed a resolution to move NATO east, and 12 senators, I did a video on this, came forward in 1998 and said, this is a bad idea. This will provoke Russia. This is before Putin was even in office. This is when we had Yeltsin in office, I believe, who was a drunk that was a puppet for the West. America's been meddling in this from the jump. We've gone against the NATO charter that came out in the 1950s. We've been moving east this whole time. You can say what Putin has done this, he's done that. You can list all the bad stuff Putin has done. Fine, great, awesome, great, good facts to have. America has helped make this problem. I mean, we've stirred this up. We're backing neo-Nazis, and now we just have all these big corporations that can't wait to go in and privatize the entire country for profit. It's America is the worst superpower because we claim to be about freedom and everything like that. We've sanctioned countries. We have bombed the Middle East for 20 years. We've blown up Syria, Yemen, you name it. And wherever there's a profit to me, Iraq, Afghanistan, now we're in Syria because Somalia's got big oil reserves. We sanction countries like Venezuela because they won't give up their oil. We sent the CIA in 1953 to get rid of Mossadegh, the democratically elected leader of Iran, because he wanted to nationalize his oil and give his own citizens profit sharing on their own resources. And we got rid of him and put in a dictator. We've been doing this all over the place. Read Smedley Butler's book. We're not the good guys. And we have no leg to stand on to judge Russia. You want to say, oh, Russia and China have done bad things? Sure. They're not doing as bad as what we're doing. They're not. Are 6 million people dead? Because that's how many people are dead in the Middle East. 6 million. And the Pentagon says that 90% of its casualties, is the Pentagon's numbers, are what's called unintended targets. So that means you're telling me 5.4 million of the 6 million people we've killed in the last 20 years in the global war on terror were unintended targets. That means we've killed 5.4 million innocent people. That's a goddamn genocide. And we're going to sit there and pass judgment on Putin and China? Sorry. We don't get to do that. America's like a drug with face tattoos running a meth lab out of a preschool that then walks into a bar and goes, you guys are all drunk and you got a drinking problem. You guys should all go to AA meetings. Hey, hophead, why don't you get yourself sober first? If America was truly who it said it was, the democracy that just was spreading peace all over the world, then we could say these things, but we're not. And half of the world's problems and wars wouldn't be happening because America, which is literally just an oil company with an army, which is what George Carlin said. We don't have a representative democracy. We have a kleptocracy run by oligarchs. A kleptocracy is a nation run by big, powerful corporations, businesses, the wealthy elites. That's what that is. And that's what we are. And Zelensky, I don't know if he realizes this or not. The American government and the American corporations that control the American government don't give a shit about the Ukrainian people. Not at all. Not at all. Lindsey Graham said it. We'll fight to the last Ukrainian. So Lindsey Graham is okay with every Ukrainian dying in this war. What's going to happen? What happens if Americans get drafted into this war? Yeah, we'll see. They would love that. So, um, it's America is the problem. Be critical as you want about Russia. Great. I'm all ears. I'm not defending Russia, but we caused this problem. We outspend the next 12 countries combined on military. So this is the thing Eisenhower warned us against. If you're going to have this military industrial complex, that machine needs to be fed, which means we always need to have a new war, a new boogeyman. And every time we drop another bomb and send tanks over there, our sanctions against Russia have really hurt Western Europe, not Russia. I just spoke to 2 different friends of mine who live in Russia, and they were like, we're not feeling it. There's no sanctions and stuff like that. Now, there's guys that are like leaving Russia because they don't want to get drafted and go to this war. That's awful because war's awful. America has a poverty draft. We haven't had a draft since Vietnam. And that was the last time people were protesting in the streets about going to war. I mean, like seriously protesting. We had an anti-war movement leading up to the war in Iraq. And then Obama got elected and everybody went to sleep. America's the evil empire. The facts are overwhelming. The amount of money we spend, we stirred up this war. We won't even give money to our own citizens. And when we want something good, oh man, we need Medicare for all. Oh, how are we going to pay for it? How come no one said, how are we going to pay for this endless war budget? No one said, how are we going to pay for this $120 billion to Ukraine? Nobody said, how are we going to pay for this $858 billion just for 1 year of war? Our military budget has gone up every year since 9/11, every single year. Bush lied about weapons of mass destruction. He committed an illegal war in Iraq. Obama dropped more bombs than got a Nobel Peace Prize and then dropped more bombs than Bush. Trump dropped more bombs than Obama. And I'm sure Biden's breaking that record. The defense industry in 2020 gave $2.7 million to Trump's campaign and $3.1 million to Biden's campaign. We were having war no matter what, whoever was the president. That's the thing you can count on. So if you don't want to believe this and you just want to think, oh, is all bad, America's doing its best it can. America's not perfect, but no, we're the problem. If you don't want to wake up to that, it's because you've been fed a bunch of propaganda. The most propaganda in the world. More so than Russia. And Russia feeds its citizens propaganda. China feeds its citizens propaganda. We're the most propagandized nation in the world. So if you don't want to believe that, that's fine. And if you don't believe, if you want to keep believing that, you're in a cult. If you're presented with all this evidence and you still think America is still the best system in the world, that's the best country in the world, you're in a cult. That's what cult members do. So live in the cult all you want. I've just presented all this facts and information. And if people still don't want to believe it, then you're in a cult. And you're drinking Kool-Aid. It's red, white, and blue Kool-Aid. It's the Kool-Aid of exceptionalism. It's the Kool-Aid fed to you by the State Department. When you watch some segment on the news and CNN, Fox, MSNBC, and it's fun, that segment is funded by Boeing or Raytheon. What do you think? You think you're getting the truth? So, yeah. You've been drinking the Kool-Aid. Good luck drinking it. Yeah, the propaganda says that we got a free press. Exactly. Follow the money, connect the dots, and get the truth. Or keep drinking the Kool-Aid and say, America is the best system, still the best one in the world. People who say America is still the best system in the world have never traveled. They've never seen. They've never traveled. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. Good luck and shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our ninth month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.